Numbers came out yesterday. 8% on the inflation, continuing to ride hotter than expected. And the answers from the administration appear to be slim to none. Kansas U.S. Senator Jerry Moran, kind to join us for a few minutes. Senator, thank you for being here. I always appreciate the time. I know that, you've got a message here for the president as of late as he tries to lessen the inflation. What do you've got for the president on this front?
Well, Pete, certainly inflation, cost of living, food costs, grocery store is the topic of conversation every time my wife goes there today. It is something that everyone is dealing with. But I would tell you, and I've discovered in my time in Congress, that the people who claim to care about the poorest among us are the ones who often promote the policies that are the most damaging to the poorest. And inflation is terrible for all, but it is a circumstance that many people at the lowest incomes struggle the most with. So I've been talking certainly about inflation. I would say that Congress, Republicans and Democrats in the past during COVID spent too much money. We're paying the price. But after President Biden became president and the Democrats took the majority in the House and Senate, another $2 trillion, $700 billion after that. It's just one expenditure after another. And that contributes to, they want to make the case as a supply chain. All that, there is perhaps a role that plays. But the reality is we've spent too much money, and that is contributing to inflation. But for the longest time, I've been trying to convince the president, even politically, he should be interested in encouraging our energy companies in the United States to produce our energy, to bring us more to the place in which we are energy independent. And that has been the opposite since the day and even before the president became president. It's been an anti-fossil fuel administration. And, in fact, the president tried to get Russia before the invasion of Ukraine to increase their production to help us. Now he's had in hand Tin Cup, Saudi Arabia, Venezuela. Mr. President, please limit the restrictions that your administration places on fossil fuels. I'm an all of the above guy. I'm happy to have Kansas is a state that produces solar energy and wind energy, ethanol, renewable diesel. Those are things that are important and deserve our support, but not to the exclusion of where we're going to have the opportunity to meet our country's energy needs. And here's, Pete, I'm sorry, I'm carrying on too long, but here's the crux of today's argument. Mr. President, it's now dangerous. You are releasing more oil from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve at a time in which, one, it won't make a difference in the price, but two, we are in a very dangerous time in this country between what's going on in Russia and Ukraine and what China is intending to do. This is not a time to drain the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. It's not there for a political purpose. It's there for us to take advantage of in a national crisis.
Well, Senator Jerry Moran is joining us on KCMO. The numbers I've seen is the Strategic Petroleum Reserve in 2021 was 638 million barrels in inventory. It's down about 35% to 416 million barrels. We're a country, Senator, that I believe uses 20 million barrels of oil per day. So continuing to release that, you're right, it's dangerous from a foreign policy perspective, but also it's not going to make the impact on prices the president thinks it's going to make. So take us through the dangers around continuing to deplete this Strategic Petroleum Reserve and what, frankly, it's really meant to be used for.
Absolutely said in a much more succinct and better way than I did. This is not going to make a difference. We are releasing about 1/2 a day's supply into the system, but doing so, while may not have an immediate consequence on price, has a long-term consequence on our independence, our flexibility, our ability to respond. We see what's going on in Europe, where they were so reliant upon Russian energy, and we do not want to be in the circumstance in which we're relying upon others, Saudi Arabia, Venezuela, Libya, or Russia, for our energy needs when the world is so dangerous.
Senator Moran, what do you make of these allegations as the Saudis apparently rolled the president under the bus here this week, and they essentially are saying that the president asked them to cut production, at least wait until after the midterm elections. What do you make of that allegation from the Saudis?
I don't know what the truth is, but I do know that I can imagine how an administration going into November elections thinks, and so that's certainly not without the what you'd expect, and it is. If this shouldn't be about politics, and that's a problem in our country today. Everything revolves around what we need at the moment, and not enough and almost no thought about what we need not only a year from now, but 3 years from now, a decade from now. And this should not be a decision made about how to get through November. It should be made about how do we make certain our country remains safe and secure.
Senator, last thing, President yesterday was talking about inflation, and I don't know if you heard this line from him, but I'd love to get your response to it here.
Republican wins, inflation is going to get worse. It's that simple.
A Republican wins, inflation's going to get worse, Senator Moran. How would you like to respond to the president on that?
I absolutely think there is no basis for that. I don't know where that would come from and what the president would be thinking when he says it. And inflation is with us for a while, but we've got to reverse course on government spending, energy policy, manufacturing at home. There are things that can be done, and it doesn't seem that this administration wants to do anything except talk about it.
Senator, great to have you on as always. Jerry Moran on KCMO Talk Radio, 710 AM, 103.7 FM. Thank you for being here. I know you got a tight schedule this morning, so we'll let you go and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for letting me join you. Best to you.
Absolutely. That is Jerry Moran on KCMO Talk Radio.